So a CAD portfolio, it's this collection of technical drawings that you can showcase your knowledge and skills to a prospective employer. Now, some people are creating a portfolio because they want to apply to architecture school at a university, or they want to get into an engineering program, and they're going to use the portfolio that way. So we sort of allow you to focus your portfolio the way that you want to use it. But along with CAD drawings, your portfolio could include freehand sketches, design projects, even photos of things you've designed and built. So think outside the box. It may not just be purely the work you did here. If it's work that you think somebody that would tell somebody about you. For example, I've had mechanical students, and I think I have an example of this. I've had mechanical students who do a lot of mechanicking, right? They build cars and motorcycles, and they work on stuff like that. And if they've done something that they're really proud of, then it doesn't hurt to put some pictures of that in there. And so maybe you have photos of some models you've built if you're an architectural student. So the portfolio is a little broader than just drawing. So think of it like that as we approach this thing. So why we require the portfolio is this. ACC is an accredited college, and it's accredited by the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools, which we call SACS, Southern Association of College and Schools. And SACS accredits us. They accredit UT Austin, Texas State, all these other places. And that's how our classes can transfer back and forth between colleges. And SACS requires that every college that every college program like ours has a way that they evaluate the quality and the effectiveness of the program and its graduates. All right. And for the A&E CAD program, we decided that a portfolio was the best way for us to evaluate our program, because we're seeing what students are doing by the time they're graduating from the program. So this will help you out to have a portfolio because you can take it to a job interview. It helps us out because we're able to evaluate how our students are doing. And so it's actually bigger than just a portfolio. And the example I'd give is, if I saw a drawing and I saw it in 2 or 3 students' portfolios and there was something off with that drawing, like the dimensions were incorrect or they weren't shown correctly or something like that, what I would probably do is contact the faculty member that those 3 students had, and say, hey, I'm seeing this drawing, there's something not right about it. What's going on in your class? So we actually use this to help improve the quality of our program. And so our faculty are aware that we are assessing their drawings when we look at your portfolio. So that kind of turns up the heat a little bit, even on our entire faculty. And so we like that. I mean, that's a good way to kind of motivate people to do a good job. And it also helps you have great portfolios. So that's why we require a portfolio in order for you to get your Associate of Applied Science degree, because it's actually used as an assessment. And so when you come in for your final portfolio review, you're going to come in with a form that you filled out. Now that will be in the future. We'll talk more about that. So, but on that form are going to be the portfolio reviews done by 3 other people of your portfolio before we even see it. So so at the least, you're going to have 4 people review your portfolio by the time you're done. Okay. And so when you come in for your final review, you're going to bring a form, and it has some information about yourself. It has some questions that you answer, and then it will have the review comments from 3 other people who've reviewed your portfolio. Now, part of the reason for that is people give good feedback for the most part, but sometimes having 3 people look at it, you may catch a misspelled word that you would not want to be in there, and everybody's missing it, and then the 3rd person who reviews it catches some weird word or some strange dimension or something like that. And so you get a chance to fix it before we see it, because if we see misspelled words in your portfolio, we're not going to sign off on your portfolio, right? And if we see dimensions that make no sense, or they don't comply with industry standards, we're not going to sign off. And so what you need to be able to do with your portfolio is when you show it to someone, you should be able to explain all of those drawings, why you made them the way you made them, what software you used. Think about it in a job interview. It's really great if you're showing someone a portfolio and you can explain that portfolio. So what we're going to try to do under our guidance, we're going to try to help you create a portfolio. And as I said, when it meets the standard, you'll get at least a C in the course. And in the end, you have this valuable tool that can be used for job searches or university admissions and so on. So approach it that way, that this is something you're doing for yourself. And in a way, you're sort of building a brochure for yourself with this portfolio. And then when you combine your resume and your references, and then you do some training and job interviewing, you're probably sort of at your peak for going out and interviewing for a job. So I had a job emailed to me this week. And so, things have definitely slowed down because of the COVID deal. But I had a job sent to me this week from an employer here in town. It was a civil related job. And so if I knew you guys were ready, I would have sent you that job opportunity. If I knew you had your resume and I knew you had your portfolio ready and I knew you had your references, I would send you that. So, but instead, who I sent it to were the folks that just finished the portfolio class this summer. So the point I'm making is that the sooner you get your resume done, the sooner you get your references done, the sooner you get your portfolio finished, the sooner I can start sending you jobs when I hear about them. And hopefully this is going to pick up. Hopefully the job market's going to pick up. Usually we have more jobs than we have students. And of course, it's definitely slower now, but it's going to pick back up, I feel like. And so you want to be ready. So even though we're going to do those final portfolio reviews in week 11, if you want to finish your portfolio in 6 weeks and say, hey, I'm ready for the final portfolio review, we would be happy to do that. So you don't have to wait. You can finish this as soon as possible. So altogether, I think you're looking at probably putting in about 80 hours to do all of this stuff. That's what most students have to do. So this is just a repeat of that slide I showed you earlier about how your degree is this. All the courses you took for your degree, that's what's central to all of this stuff. So let's talk about it real quick. All of the stuff you're seeing is going to be in Blackboard, by the way, in the module number 1. But I wanted to focus on this. Let's say that you're a civil CAD major. So you've probably taken GIS 1411, you've taken 2430, you've taken 2421, 2475, water and wastewater, 1470, stormwater, and the civil visualization course, right? You've also taken a couple of restricted electives. You've taken the inventor course, maybe the Revit course over here. Now you're in this course. The work for your portfolio is going to come from those courses that I've checked in green or circled or that have that red ellipse around them. Does that make sense? So if you're a civil guy, you want to pull the work that you did in those and start thinking about what are you going to use from those courses for your portfolio. And that's going to be the best work that you did in those courses, all right? And you want to make sure that the work, if it had any errors in it, this is the time to fix all the errors and that sort of thing. So you're going to restore the CAD files from the classes above, open them in a CAD program, and then you're going to probably print them as a PDF and use a snipping tool and snip out what you want, and then you're going to put it into a PowerPoint, and then later you'll print or save the PowerPoint as a PDF. Pardon me. Now, some of you know how to use other programs that are fancier than PowerPoint, and like InDesign or something like that. You're welcome to use those if you know how to use them. But we don't require that you use something fancier than PowerPoint and a snipping tool and a PDF reader. You can do a portfolio with just those programs. So if you're an architectural CAD major, your courses look different than a civil, but it's the same process. You're going to want to restore your work from these courses here, put them into your portfolio. If you're a mechanical, You're going to take 1433 and maybe the CAD CAM and then SolidWorks and whichever courses you've taken, and you're going to use those to build your portfolio. Pardon me. Now, almost everybody, we require actually that you include some work besides what your major is. So if you're a mechanical student, most of your portfolio is going to be mechanical. But at the very back of the portfolio, one of the last things I would show is something from another course, because you were required to take more here at ACC than just in your mechanical field. You took an architecture class, you took Revit, you took the civil class. So you could include something from the civil or the Revit course, for example, at the back of your portfolio and just sort of show the range that you have. The reason why I wanted to point that out is that I had a student, he was a mechanical student, and he went to a job interview, and actually I got that backwards. He was an architectural student, but he had taken the inventor course. And so he went to a job interview, and it was a company that did glass for high rises. They did all the sheet glass and everything that you see on the outside of a high rise. And they were looking through his portfolio of architectural work, and they got to the very back and they saw his inventor stuff. And they said, "You know how to use Inventor?" And he said, "Yeah." And they said, "Well, all of the clips and everything that we use to hold this glass in place, we're actually using Inventor to do that." And he got offered the job, and he's very happy there. And in fact, he's come back and helped hire 2 more students from our program. So if you're electronics CAD, you'd be doing these courses. This is what you would pull your portfolio from. If you're interdisciplinary, it will be these. So, everybody's portfolio looks different. Pardon me. So most students start out with a title page of some sort. So this is an example created by this woman here, Tabitha, and she was a mechanical major. And so this was the first sheet that you see in her portfolio. And so you can see the graphic design that's going on here. She had created this motorcycle engine in one of her classes here. And you can see, so she has a rendering of it, and then she has a line art superimposed over it. And then she sort of has a table of contents over here. And so she had to make decisions about how she's going to lay this out, what the font she was going to use would be, and all those sorts of things, okay? That's where Amber can help you with that kind of stuff, because she's the graphic arts tutor. This is another woman, Allison. Allison's goal was to get into the Graduate School of Architecture at UT Austin. And so her portfolio was a mix of technical work like this that you're seeing right here, and also a lot of arty stuff. Like she also had I think she had a Bachelor of Fine Arts, so she had some painting and some drawing and things like that in her portfolio, because she knew that's what they would want to see at UT Architecture School. So but this was her cover sheet. This is a cover sheet by Samantha. She was a civil CAD portfolio. She was a civil major, and so this was her opening sheet of her portfolio. And this was from the visualization class. This is the opening sheet by Andrew Lee. Andrew's a mechanical specialization. So he talks about Inventor and SolidWorks and Creo and Mastercam, but he's one of the guys that did mechanic work on the side, and he was building a Supra tuner car. And so he included some of that stuff in there. So if you're an architectural CAD person, this is an example of what one of your sheets may look like, is right here. So I've got 4 sheets I'm showing you here, so I've reduced them down, but you can see we've got exterior elevations, and this is from a Revit model, floor plans from a Revit model, structural details from Revit, and then some more, like we've got some wall sections over here and so on like that. So these are good examples. This is another example, a guy named Philip Eastham. Philip had a great portfolio. This is a floor plan he had, and the thing I want to point out, I've got a larger image. This is from Philip's portfolio here. is that every sheet that he had a border around it, and then he would snip out the art and he would put it in here. So he was doing screen capture type stuff, or snipping, using a snipping tool to capture the views from his elevations in the 1417 class. Right up here on Philip, each sheet had a page number, and each sheet, if it was a floor plan, it said floor plan. If it was elevations, if it was MEP, it said that. So that was sort of what his graphic design looked like. And this is a good example of, you can see how crisp the image is, and this is what you want in your portfolio for job interviewing, right? So here's another image, and this was done by a different student. This is from the commercial class, commercial architecture. And so she did this sort of arty thing where she has a light source and she's casting shadows, and she did sort of this section view a few feet off the ground. And this came out of the 3D model and Revit that's done in the commercial class. So you can see it's not just drawings that you might include in here. You can really get a little bit artier if you want to. I included this. This was someone's, this student, what he did was he sort of had a cover sheet for each of his projects. So you can see that he took the elevation from 1417 and he took it into another program, and he reversed the colors on it so it was white. And then he put a rendered version in the background, that darker background there. And then he created thumbnails for Revit and for AutoCAD, and this is like an imaging program right here. Showcase was the name of that. So some of you are interested maybe in going to architecture school. So how do you deal with that? And so, of course, our new architecture program is beginning this semester. This is an example of some sketches that were included by one of our students. Her name is Tiandra Hatch. So these were some doghouse designs that she included, and you can see her sketching and the way she's used color. I think it's watercolor pens. Her lettering is nice, and so she knows that when you apply to architecture school, you've got to have some arty stuff in there. So this is an example of that. These are some other sketches from the doghouse design that she included in her portfolio. And this next slide here is a sketch of a doghouse. This was done by a guy named Carlos Carrasco, and then a model that he built of that doghouse. And Carlos also was intending on going to architecture school. And Erlene can correct me if I'm wrong, but the last thing I heard from Carlos, he was in architecture school at the University of Houston.
Tiandra is also in architecture school at the University of Houston.
Oh, cool. That's great to hear. Yeah. So this is a sample portfolio page from a civil student. And so these can be a little misleading, because sometimes what we do is the border that you have in here is its own image. And so you put the border in the title block, and then you clip the art that you're going to put in here, and then you may make the art bigger so it's easier to read in an interview, or it makes the text easier to read. So, somebody first looks at it, they may think you just printed a sheet, when actually it might be that you have, a title block and border is a separate image, and then you've got the other art placed on top of that and scaled at a different scale. So here's an example of civil CAD portfolio. And what we're going to be looking at in that is, we want to be able to zoom in and make sure that we can read all your text clearly and all. And so sometimes that's where printing it from Civil 3D as a PDF and then zooming in on it and doing snips or screen captures is the best way to capture that at high resolution. So this is a really good example of a high resolution screen capture type thing on this one. This is for Civil CAD. This is from Bailey Jones's mechanical CAD course, where they do the plastic design for a cordless drill. So this makes a really nice project. And one of the things you can do is you can put some text in there and you can kind of explain what it is you were doing. That helps you two ways. If you send your PDF to someone, they can read about what you did. Or if you're in a job interview, it helps you remember what to say about this particular project. So, get creative. Here's a good example of just multi-view drawings with dimensions and geometric dimensions and tolerancing. And so this is, of course, from a mechanical class. And the thing that's important here is if you're going to show someone in a job interview some GD&T, geometric dimensioning and tolerancing, be sure you can explain it to them. Because if you show this to me in a job interview, I may ask you to tell me what that means, and what you need to be able to do is explain it and not say, well, my instructor just said to put that on there. That would not be a good answer for that. So when you're creating your portfolio, you're sort of looking ahead and thinking, what would I say about this drawing if it was in a portfolio? This is a portfolio sheet made by a guy that was in our CAD/CAM class, and so he actually took pictures of some things he was making in the CAD/CAM class. He has the mill, and this is a guy named James O'Connell, and James actually went on and got a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from Texas A&M, and he had this in his portfolio. And when he got down to A&M, he went to the A&M machine shop that they have for mechanical engineering, and he showed the guy in the machine shop his portfolio, and he wound up getting hired. And he worked in the machine shop the whole time he was at A&M. That drafting table project you did in 1433? Even if you're an architectural student, that might be something worth considering, because what it shows is your ability to design, and it shows the process, like the sketches you made, and your ability to to create a concept and to carry it out, model it, put it all together. So don't rule out even using things like the drafting table project. If you're electronics, this is a good example of an integrated circuit sheet in an electronic CAD portfolio right here. So we have the schematic, and then we have the layout itself. And the graphic design is this right here. Every sheet had that, it just that the title changed. And then it had a border, and you can see faintly in the background, you can see there's some background art, and that art was on every page. And that's actually a printed circuit board background back there. And when you look at the font that he used down here, you're like, man, that's not a very attractive font. But that's actually the font that the software program uses when you use Cadence. So that's why he used that font, because somebody in an interview would recognize that font as something they see every day. So this is an example of a printed circuit board design in a portfolio. And then here's like an example of MEP, an example of the commercial project. Just, different people do it differently. And so here's a sample cover sheet right here saying what they're going to be seeing, and it actually has pages mentioned for what they'll see when they get to those pages. Now, I'm going to warn you about putting pages in your portfolio. It looks good, but the problem is that as your portfolio changes and evolves, you've got to keep up with all those page numbering changes. So just be aware of that. If you're willing to do that, it's fine to number your pages, but you probably don't have to number your pages. So these are just examples. And one of the things that I'll do is I will make it where you can access some sample portfolios, and you'll be able to see them. I'll share the link to a Google Drive that has some shared portfolios on there. So this is Andrew Lee. This is an example of one of the projects. Pardon me, my voice is going to give out on me here, I think. Here's another example of how somebody used the drafting table in their portfolio. They actually put 4 sheets on one sheet, and they showed their concept and how everything went together. And sometimes people will overlap a couple of sheets, or put multiple things together with the parts list or whatever. So again, these are examples to give you ideas of how you might approach doing your portfolio. We're not telling you this is how you ought to do it, but we're trying to kind of inspire you for how you might do it. Okay? So that's the portfolio. That's doing 11 weeks. You can make a C if you do that. Now, getting a B, that's the resume. And so here's the thing. We have some sample resume templates, and you can use those, but there's actually a module for writing your resume. And I'm going to point that out here in just a minute. I'm not going to go into your resume a whole lot right now. But we have some templates that you can open up and kind of use to create your resume. And so the module, there's a video on writing a resume, and you definitely want to watch that because it's going to talk to you about what makes a good resume for a CAD job if this is like your first time out to look for a CAD job. And the thing about it is that we're actually going to kind of build your resume around the courses that you took at ACC, because your portfolio is built around those courses. That's what you show people what it is you know how to do. And so if you're an architectural drafter and you're applying for an architectural CAD job, and let's say it's your first job, you might want to just come in here and describe your training, course by course or something like that. And a good way to find out what it was that you did in all these courses would be to get the syllabus for each one of those courses and look at the learning outcomes that are identified in the syllabus, and then kind of build a paragraph about that course using the learning outcomes that are already in the syllabus. So that's what the module talks about. It's module number 2 in Blackboard. And there, in Blackboard, there's a checklist for writing a CAD resume. And in fact, it starts by make a list of the advanced courses, locate the master syllabus for each course, and review the course level learning objectives. Open a resume template, add your contact information, write a career objective, and then in the education and training, write a detailed description of the course, and that's where you come back to your master syllabus. That'll help you to write a detailed description of each course, and then so on. And then you eventually you send that to us. We're going to mark it up and send it back to you with digital comments. So we're going to mark it up in Word, send it back to you, and you'll want to turn on the comments section in Word so you can see our comments. You'll make your revisions, you'll save it, you'll resend it to us, and we'll repeat this process until Erlene or I accept your resume. All right, and then you get 7.5 points in Blackboard for that. So as we say here, if you're a civil major, your resume is going to be built around what you learned in these courses here, and so on for all the other courses like that. So these are the learning objectives identified in the master syllabus for Dftg 2430, and it says that you're going to define terminology and criteria related to land development codes. So in your resume, you could say that you learned about land development codes, blah, 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 City of Austin, that sort of thing. And those are the kinds of things that someone in a job interview wants to know about you, right? What do you know about civil? What do you know about architecture? What do you know about mechanical? Okay. And remember, when they're looking at your resume, all they're doing is deciding whether they're going to interview you or not. They haven't even seen your portfolio. So the resume needs to give them a good idea of everything you know about CAD and about the field that you're trying to apply for a job in. So the workflow for creating references, that will come afterward. We have a step-by-step thing for making your references. But references come from people who will say good things about you. So we have a module on writing references, and there's a video you need to watch. And we explain the whole process of getting your references. But just to give you a quick overview, most of your references, or a lot of your references, will probably be people who taught the courses that you were in at ACC. So you'll be contacting them and asking them, hey, can I use you as a reference? So hopefully you impressed people when you were in your courses, and they'll agree, pardon me, to be your reference. And then the interview training for a CAD job, that's the online training that's available through the ACC Career Services. And that's where you can go in and you can attend the free job interviewing training through Big Interview. That's what ACC has purchased as a program to teach people to interview. And then you can also participate in a interview training activity like a mock job interview, a practice job interview. And we'll give you 7.5 points for each of those. And so that's how, that you get through the whole thing. Submitting it all at the end. How do you submit it? Module 5 of Blackboard talks about the final review and how you submit everything. So, I know we're hitting you with a whole lot of stuff today, but it's going to be spread out over weeks. And so you'll get to see all of that stuff. So, anybody have a question they want to ask right now?
I have a question regarding the portfolio.
Yes.
Y'all can hear me okay?
Yes.
What would be the peer review process from after the midterm but before the final review, if there's still a peer review process that we must go through?
Right. Okay. Okay. So what we recommend, what we recommend that you do is use the tutors. That would be your first line of people that could do a review for you. So a lot of our tutors are already graduates of our program in mechanical or civil or whatever. And you can send them your portfolio as a PDF and let them review it. And they've already been through the process and they've probably got some opinions already. They've probably reviewed a lot of portfolios already. So they are a good source of reviews. Another review might be to use a former faculty member. If they have time, they may or may not have time. You could ask them if you could send them a PDF of your portfolio and get a review of that. That would be another way. And so they can write comments, and like I said, we'll have a form. It's a PDF and it's editable. So they'll be able to write their comments, and then you'll provide that PDF to us at the end of the semester. So
did they produce that PDF, or do we have that PDF in Blackboard already?
You have it in Blackboard already. Yes, it's a form in Blackboard that we've already created.
Excellent.
Sure, it works really well. And let's see. Oh, another option for you guys who are employed. If you want to have somebody at work, let's say you've got a civil engineer or a designer, you can use them to review your portfolio as well. And one thing I didn't mention is if your employer will let you use work from your job, most won't, but some will, maybe you could ask them if you can use some of your work, art and stuff to put in there. A lot of times if they let you use it, they'll make you remove their title block and any identifying information or anything like that. But sometimes they'll let you do that. Okay, so the third part is something I'm not going to go into. I'm just going to tell you at the back of your syllabus are all of the ACC and A&E CAD policies. And these are the ones that talk, you're familiar with these. These are the ones that talk about campus carry. They've got a bunch of new stuff about coming on campus during the age of COVID-19. But, it talks about student services and all those stuff. And you're probably already familiar with those. But what I want you to do, what I recommend that you do is open the syllabus and go to the last pages of the course syllabus and just look at the course and departmental policies and familiarize yourself with those if you don't already think you're pretty familiar with those. All right, so I'm going to back up here. The next thing I'm going to talk about is what's next. And so these are the assignments that you're going to leave with today. There are 2 assignments due by 5 p.m. on September the 11th. The first is to go to Blackboard and go to this link right here that says Orientation Video and Agreement. And you're going to click on that, and it's going to bring you to this page here. Now, if you attended the orientation today, you probably don't need to watch the orientation videos, but they're going to be there for you. And the orientation video part 2 covers the part that I just talked about the portfolio, about what the portfolio involves and everything. But when you get into the actual module for doing the portfolio, I've done a video that just talks about making a portfolio. So that's what you really want to watch when you start building your portfolio. But anyway, so the first assignment, we want you to go into the orientation video and agreement link, and you are going to see this guy right here. You want to click on that, and it appears to be a test. It's 7 questions. They are true, false, and what they say, the first one says something like, I understand that this course is completely online and that all of the instructional materials will come from Blackboard. True or false? And then, there's another one and another one. So what it is essentially like a course contract that says that you understand how the grading works, that you understand you're going to get all this stuff from Blackboard and all those kinds of things. It's very simple, just 7 questions. And when you've answered all of those, true or false, and by the way, the correct answer is true on everything, you just hit save and submit, which is a button down at the bottom of the page right here. That's your first assignment, is to submit the orientation agreement. So that's going to take 5 minutes to do, unless you weren't here for this part and you have to watch the videos. Okay, and so I'm updating these videos. I'll have those updated by this evening anyway, if you want to rewatch the video we did today. The second thing you need to do is this. You need to create a portfolio outline. Actually, there's 3 things you have to do, because you have to do the agreement, you have to do the portfolio outline, and you're going to do that by clicking on module number 1 right here, creating a CAD portfolio. And if you read your way down, you can watch this video. You can then it gets down to this part right here where it says create an outline. Okay, that's going to be in step 2 of module number 1. And you'll be able to click and see a sample portfolio outline. That will be due on September the 11th at 5 o'clock. Now, what's also due on that date is your resume. So you're going to click on module number 2 and go into the resume. I think my slide is missing for module number 2. So you're going to click on module number 2, and the same thing, you're going to see a step-by-step for writing your resume. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to escape out of this PowerPoint show here, and I'm going to try to project. See if I can move this over a little bit. Project to your monitor here. I may have to make this a little bit smaller in order to do this. Oh, sorry. See if I can bring this in so it's inside my video bounds here. All right. So are you guys seeing Blackboard right now? Can you tell me if you are? No?
No.
Okay, so hang on for just a second and I'll...
See in the PowerPoint.
Yeah, I'll have to stop sharing on that then in that case. So let me stop sharing. Okay, so it should have just turned that off, and so I'm going to change and hopefully show you Blackboard now. So are you seeing Blackboard now? Yep, good. Okay. So if you want to see the syllabus, after you log into Blackboard, you just click right here and it takes you to this page, and then you can click right here on your syllabus and see that. It talks about the technology requirements. It has some information on the instructors. You can ignore this course contract because now that's going to be done by filling out this agreement right up here. You know, the orientation agreement. Let me go back up to the top, right up here. So in fact, I'll turn off that course contract thing. Here's that link for downloading CAD software at home and managing your files. And here's the link for accessing your CAD files on ACC servers. All right. Now, as I said, when you get down to your learning modules, for module number 1 on creating a CAD portfolio, if you click on that, you would read this first part right here. You'd watch the video on creating a CAD portfolio, And then in step 2, you're going to see a sample portfolio outline, and it talks about how to create an outline for your CAD portfolio. That is due along with your resume on September 11th. All right. Then you'll click on module number 2, which talks about creating a CAD resume. And again, it starts by watching a video on creating a resume for a CAD job. And then we have even some PDF information on writing a resume for a CAD job. And it talks about gathering information for that. And then in step 4, you're going to see some templates. And so there's a template for an architectural resume and one for a civil resume and so on like that. And you can open those up and you can save them. And you can save them on your in your home folder. And we're recommending that you create your home folder on a Google Drive. And there's some information on that right up here on downloading CAD software and managing your files at home. All right. So you will write your resume and submit it to me by September, or Erlene by September the 11th at 5 o'clock. If you want to submit it earlier, that's great. We'll mark it up, send it back to you. And so the sooner we get it, the sooner we can look it over and get you revisions, and then you can get them back to us, and eventually you'll get your resume ready to go. And so you'll be one step closer to interviewing for a CAD job when that's done. All right. So that's what's due on September 11th is the orientation agreement, the portfolio outline, and your resume. So you have 2 weeks to work on that. All right. So Erlene and I will be back online on Tuesday at 1 o'clock. And to get to that meeting, we'll send you an invitation. But also, if you log into Blackboard and you click on Join the Live Meeting on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1, that will take you directly to the Google meeting. So if you have questions about your resume or the outline and you want to talk to us on Monday, that will be fine. And you can always just send us email during the week if you need to. So that's it. We've got 2 minutes before it's 2:30. We were shooting to try to get you done by 2:30. Does anybody have any questions? Or if Erlene wants to add anything, I'm going to open it up.
I would just say don't wait to get started on everything, but also just take advantage of showing up on Tuesdays and Thursdays, because I think that'll really help you stay on track. Because each week on those days we'll say, like, here's where you should be this week, right, with your portfolio. And, you know, don't forget to include this in your resume or whatever it happens to be. So just, you know, take advantage of the help that we can offer, especially while we're all working remotely.
Right. Anything else? Anybody have a question? I'll stay on for a few more minutes too, if you need to. Go ahead. Somebody was asking.
You said that the meetings Tuesdays and Thursdays are not going to be recorded?
They'll be recorded. We'll record them if we're talking about instructional things. But if it's just a meeting where we're there to answer questions, we probably won't record those. All right. And so we'll send out an email letting you know if we're going to be talking about things or not. So on Tuesday's meeting, I'll be going over the resume a little bit. And but like I said, you've got a full video on making a resume that you can watch. But I'll cover a little bit about resumes on Tuesday at 1 o'clock. And so there will be days when it's kind of instructional, and we'll record those and post those, okay? But I think everything you need is in Blackboard if you just watch the video on writing a resume or creating a portfolio or writing references or whatever. We've got full videos already in Blackboard inside each module, okay? Anything else? All right. Well, like Erlene said, get to work on it now. Don't wait, because you'll run out of time if you do. This takes more time to make than you think. It isn't just opening up drawings and printing them out and putting them into PDF. I promise you, there's a lot more to it to build a great portfolio and a great resume, great references. It's a lot of work. And the payoff could be a really good job for some of you guys, or entrance to architecture school or engineering school. So, you know, put the time into it that it's going to take, and come out with a great product at the end. So that's it.
Doug,
Yes, go ahead.
one last question, if possible.
Yeah.
Doug, so these words, we are allowed to choose and substitute any projects and any PDFs we want in our own, right?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah.
That was my question.
The portfolio is yours. You know, I mean, now when we look at it at the midterm, if you, let's say you're an architectural student and you left out the mechanical and electrical course, we might say, hey, that's really important to have those drawings from mechanical and electrical in there. You know, we're going to give you advice and things like that. So, yeah, but you get to decide what it looks like and what the format is, and we're going to be giving you feedback. And also Amber, the graphic arts tutor, will give you feedback too. Okay. So if you think you figured it all out right now, you could log off or stick around. Either one. I'll stick around for a little while. And otherwise, have a great weekend, and thank you for coming to the orientation. I look forward to working with you and seeing what you make. You know, you guys always astound us with great portfolios, and we're kind of used to seeing great portfolios at the end. And if I haven't had you in a class before, I look forward to getting to know you a little better and seeing what you're capable of doing. So with that, have a great weekend.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.